Welcome to Evan Makovsky's Business Podcast. I am your host, Evan Makovsky, and it's my pleasure to have an all-star on the program, and that is Asa Fleming. He's a realtor for Allen Tate. Asa, thank you so much for making the time and educating us folks on the real estate industry.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with you and real estate. What is it about real estate that first attracted you to the field, that you thought you could succeed at it? How did you get into the residential real estate business?
Sure. So, I started my real estate career in New York City in Queens. And, at the time I was working, as a supervisor for a New York hospital. At the time, it was New York Presbyterian. We had merged with Columbia Presbyterian on the west side of Manhattan. And just knew that corporate America wasn't for me. I found myself in a room with 78 managers and 50 jobs because of that merger. And although I survived it, I started looking for something else, where I could sort of kill my own food, if that makes sense. And so I looked at, providing shelter. I thought that was one of the physiological needs from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I figured people will always need shelter. And so when I talked to some real estate agents in New York and, they were telling me, if you want a really good industry, a career that will be successful, something that will give you flexibility, that this is the business. Real estate is the way to go. And, what great I would say the motive for getting involved in helping people find shelter. People will always need it, and I wanted to be involved in providing it.
Many agents, Asa, understandably struggle early on in their careers. At what point in your career did you achieve wins and felt you could have a good to great career in that industry, real estate?
Well, I was in New York City. I decided to come back to North Carolina. I'm an NC State grad. And so I came back to North Carolina to sort of, start a family and get my life going. And it was difficult at first. I came back right when, right after the World Trade was hit in 2001. So I got to Raleigh, I think around August of 2001. Became a realtor. I got my license the end of 2001, became a realtor in 2002. And it was a little bit of a struggle because, nobody was buying real estate, but then we had some pretty good years. I was starting to get my feet wet down here, 2003, 4, and 5. And then around 2006 or 7, it's when I really, I was involved with the Association of Realtors here in Raleigh. And once I started meeting people who were in the know, who were in the leadership, in the association, engaged with the business of real estate and not just selling real estate, that's when I knew that I could make a career out of it.
What are some of the attributes that make a successful real estate agent you see during your time in the business and in 2022 present moment? Have you seen the business change by way of technology or any other factors?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, technology has changed the business dramatically. When I first started, I think when I first got here in North Carolina, everybody had a key to unlock your listings and things like that. They had just transferred over to an MLS system, which and also had a centralized showing system where you could actually show other people's listings with just signing up online and scheduling the appointments online. You fast forward till today, websites were a big thing back then. Now it got into cell phones. The event of the smartphone really changed the business. The laptops, things like that really started to change the business of real estate. And then to have the amount of data that we are seeing now available to people has just changed it. The iBuyers have changed the system. And, what I think makes a real estate agent successful is, you're always changing, right? You're always changing with it. But you have to always remember that this is a relationship business. It's about building enduring relationships with people. And once you do that and you're willing to do the necessary current activities, the daily activities that are necessary for this business, you will be successful in it. One other thing is you have to love what you do. You're going to get people from all different walks of life. But if you love what you do, you're able to navigate those people and use interpersonal skills to have a successful outcome every time.
It's been a wacky time this year in real estate. How has the housing industry shortage, especially this past spring, affected you, your business, your team, and clients?
Well, during the pandemic, I had one of the best years ever, if not the best year I've ever had. Seeing the housing shortages have really, affected affordable housing. And, a lot of my clients are first-time home buyers. I kind of focus on that realm. And, to see them priced out of it because of the demand is just very sad. It's heartbreaking. You see them with the desire to want to buy a home, but just aren't financially able to do it. And so that to me is what the housing shortage has had the biggest impact on. Those first-time home buyers coming into the market that want to buy a home, they want to get out of renting, but they just aren't financially able to do it.
Right, because there's little supply and more demand, and they may run up against people, correct me if I'm wrong, who may be willing to bid up the asking price or whatever it is, or have more money to bring to close or due diligence. That kind of, the way I heard it is, the average American was very affected because with that shortage, they would run up against, like you mentioned, maybe significantly wealthy people vying for the same piece of property.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been in situations, I've had my own personal listing where you had, over 40 offers, all but 3 of them cash. We have due diligence here, excess of $10,000, $20,000. My absolute winner on due diligence is $100,000 down, and not everyone has that type of liquidity walking around. And so, yeah, I mean, being able to compete in that type of environment is very difficult. We're, consistently one of the top places to live in the country. I am the chair of the planning board here for Wake County, and we get about 25,000 people a year, but we're only building about close to a little under 9,000 homes for the past few years. So it's challenging. And when you have that kind of demand and people willing to pay from other areas of the country, willing to pay, they see this as affordable to them, it's difficult for the people that are here already that are trying to get into that first-time home buyer space and have a home of their own.
Raleigh is kind of an in-between market. And when I mean in between New York per se, where you're from, people are not necessarily returning to the office like they did before the pandemic. Maybe the person who used to come in 5 days a week maybe comes in 2 to 3 days a week. And I don't think it's ever going back to the way it was before. During the pandemic, people left big cities for the burbs. Now people are returning to the cities, but as I just mentioned, work has changed and many work remote or have a hybrid setup. It appears, unless it's essential for you to be in the office 5 days a week or at your workplace, that working full-time, not hybrid, working full-time at the office is kind of a thing of the past. There obviously is an influx to certain places like Raleigh, but cities, suburbs, rural areas, how has the pandemic changed the real estate market, speaking present moment?
Oh, well, I mean, it's definitely changed where people are choosing to live. And I remember, I'd say about 10 years ago, the whole thing was live, work, play in the same environment, right? I want to be able to go to work, go downstairs, grab something to drink, something to eat, go to my house, without having to get into my car. Well, the pandemic shifted that. People started looking for more space. They weren't, like you said, required to come into the office. They started discovering things like Zoom and things, that they can get a lot of their meetings and work done. I think that's, my personal opinion is that's how it's going to be from now on. It's going to be maybe a hybrid at best. but you're going to see a lot of people, working from home, having a lot more space where they don't have to be right up on top of each other. But they still want that access to, go out, have something to eat, grab a couple of drinks with some friends, without having to get in their car for an enormous period of time. So you're going to see a lot of the suburban cities and, bedroom communities start to have commercial aspects of their own, where they have restaurants and other places to go for entertainment, for families that decide to do that. But the thing that I think stands out the most from that is that, maybe I don't know what the commercial market does. Maybe they repurpose a lot of those buildings. Maybe they turn them into condominiums. I am not fully convinced that people are going to return to the office as before. I think we've seen the last of that.
You and I have spoken prior to this interview, and you've told me about some of your, if I want to say, guiding principles for things you ask when you check with former clients, current clients. I don't want to give away your secrets here, so I'll just let you disclose whatever you'd like to, but what are some guiding principles professionally for you?
Me, I believe in having, a high degree of integrity. I use education with my clients. I feel that if I can leave you with, your awareness as, you raise your awareness on a topic that you weren't familiar with before as it relates to real estate, and that's a win because you learned something, right? But I've always believed in, if anyone that knows me will say, you have to breathe out in order to breathe in. And for me, that means it's just another way of saying you got to give before you receive. And so I try to give the very best service that I can give to a client. And that way they'll feel appreciated, feel like they've been done correctly, and refer me to other clients, and that's how I keep my business going. I think another secret for me is having stick-to-itiveness. This business gets very difficult sometimes. And when you have the determination to stay in it, realize that your mission is helping people realize home ownership. If you have that stick-to-itiveness and that, that determination and that tenacious drive to succeed and help people, then you will be successful in this business. If you're in it just for the money, or it's just something you're trying to see what's going to happen, your heart is somewhere else, this isn't the business for you.
Asa, I don't want to embarrass you. I know you've won national awards. Maybe if you could just tell the audience some of the real estate awards that you've collected over the years.
Never was in it for any of that, but just I guess on the governance side, I've been Realtor of the Year in my local association. I've been Realtor of the Year for the state, which is recognized by the National Association for that as well. I've won the Ben Ball Community Award. One of my things is I've always, and that's the state association award. I've always been involved with my community. I always say, I have this thing that I say, I believe in being involved with my community, my clients, and my industry, and so I've won that. And then numerous, monthly sales awards at the office and different companies I've worked at, and as well as annual awards.
And how can folks get in touch with you?
Oh, my number is public information. They can give me a call, 919-454-6480, or just visit my website, or email me at asa.fleming@allentate.com.
Asa, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. It's great having you on, and you seem like an extremely principled person, and it seems like it served you extremely well, especially professionally when it comes to real estate.
Well, thank you for having me. And I appreciate those words. I always feel if you're going to get into the business of real estate, get engaged in the business of real estate as well. And it's about a little bit more than just a commission check.
All right. I want to thank Asa Fleming of Allen Tate Real Estate. He's a realtor, for joining today's program. I'm Evan Makovsky. Thank you for listening to my business podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.